Discover the amazing secrets of an underwater civilization. Hidden wonders revealed in 60 minutes. Amelia sat at her father's old desk, the storm rattling the windows of her small study. The weight of her last meeting with the faculty pressed down on her chest, the skepticism from her colleagues still echoing in her mind. Professor Reynolds' sharp words cut deeply, leaving her to feel like little more than a shadow trailing behind her father's legendary legacy. She could almost feel the letters of her father's name, etched into the walls of academia, suffocate her aspirations. Pain battled excitement as she clutched the faded map she had discovered, its intricate markings hinting at something once lost to time, a submerged city hidden in the depths of the sea. Yet, the thrill of discovery felt so far removed from her life. She had wanted this moment, ensnared in a dream of recognition and approval. But now it felt brittle and impermanent. If the faculty had dismissed her excitement before, how could she dare to present the truth hidden beneath the ocean waves? The idea of stepping into a world that would soon be lost to the very forces she feared stirred a tumult of feelings within her. Fear, anticipation, desperation, a trinity she struggled to break free from. And through each layer of emotion, the gnawing doubt echoed louder. Would her findings ever earn her the respect she desperately sought? With unresolved thoughts spiraling like a maelstrom, Amelia recalled Reynolds' scornful gaze when she'd mentioned her father. More scholarly antics, he had scoffed, forcing her to question her worth. It gnawed at her psyche, that close-knit knot of familial expectations, educational scrutiny, and the ever-present worry that she would never be more than just her father's daughter. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm outside intensified, and so did her internal chaos as she clutched the map tighter, her breath coming in shallow bursts. The possibilities unfurled before her, visions of sunken treasures growing in clarity against the shadows. Every artifact she'd uncover could add weight to her name, make her rightful, not merely an echo of her father's brilliance. Yet each dive would also unearth the unseen struggle against a tide of skepticism. What if she unearthed something monumental only to be met with dismissal? Amid the flicker of candlelight and the storm outside, a familiar whisper clawed at her resolve. A trusted colleague had caught her eye during the faculty meeting, a glimmer of betrayal haunting their gaze. Each revelation, each dive, could seal her fate, diving deeper. But into what? The gulf of expectations that loomed above her felt insatiable, threatening to swallow her whole. Amelia took a shaky breath, feeling the weight of the secrets below her, of legacy, of truth pulling her closer to the edge of her ambitions. Uncertainty clawed at her as she faced the next dive. Would she emerge with a legacy that belonged to her, or would the wave of jealousy from her peers drag her back into obscurity? The ocean beckoned her forward, but was she ready to confront its depths and her own? The scariest truth was that now, with those ancient secrets ticking beneath the waves, upheaval was more than a possibility. It was an impending reality. The question remained, what would she be willing to sacrifice to claim her name? And in attempting to decipher the past, what parts of herself would she risk losing? The morning after the storm, Amelia awoke to an uneasy calm. The remnants of last night's tempest had given way to bright sunlight spilling through her study window, illuminating the map anew. She sat up in bed, her heart racing with a mingled sense of dread and curiosity. The submerged city waited for her, a cryptic challenge wrapped in mystery and buried truths. Her decision was forged like a sailor's compass adjusting to the northern star. Today would contrast sharply with yesterday's doubts. She needed to think of a plan, a robust strategy to approach the dive that awaited her. As Amelia sipped her coffee, the mundane ritual suddenly felt charged, brimming with potential. Seated at her father's old desk, she dusted off a notebook filled with her handwriting, each word a heartbeat of passion. Driven by determination, She began documenting everything she knew about the location of the underwater civilization. Names, conjectures, hypotheses, it all poured out onto the pages, each stroke of the pen sparking a deeper resolve within her. As she wrote, clarity washed over her. It was vital to prepare for the questions she would face. The faculty would want proof, and she had a responsibility to present her findings with unassailable confidence. Swapping her coffee for a lighter breakfast, she decided to reach out to her old professor, Dr. Sandra Mills. Known for her balanced approach to unexplained phenomena, Sandra offered a depth Amelia craved, someone who wouldn't view her as simply Will's daughter. After a hesitant moment, Amelia dialed Sandra's number, the sudden surge of adrenaline leaving little room for doubts. It was time to face the academic community head-on. The phone rang and then clicked as her mentor picked up. "Amelia, is everything all right?" The warmth in Sandra's voice was immediate, soothing the spikes of anxiety racing in Amelia's chest. "Hi, Sandra. I'm thinking about a dive. I'm planning a potential discovery," Amelia said, her words tumbling forth like clumsy divers. She could hear Sandra's skeptical silence stretch through the phone line. "A dive? You're serious?" "Amelia, that's not exactly advisable without proper scrutiny." Forcing herself to speak before the doubts consumed her, she explained her findings, the map, and her father's legacy. As she spoke, she felt the weight of her father's name slip from oppressive to empowering, transforming into a shield that protected rather than suffocated. The conversation lifted her, and when she hung up, her confidence surged. Today marked the first step towards materializing her dream, carving her own space amid the formidable shadows of her father's legacy. Yet, as the day drew on and she prepared her equipment, the urgency of her task entwined with a budding anxiety. Not only would this dive set her apart from her father, but it would define who she was as an explorer, a professional. What if the truth buried beneath the water brought greater revelations, more harrowing than she anticipated? Would confronting the abyss lead her to discover treasures, or would she unearth unsettling truths that upended everything she believed about her family? That night, while packing her gear, she paused, mind swirling. The air was electric with anticipation, the unknown beckoning her towards peril and promise. She stared at her empty diving suit, contemplating the physical boundaries she would soon cross. Both in the ocean and within her own psyche, she closed her eyes. A gaping chasm of water flashed before her, echoing with voices from the past. Tomorrow the descent would begin, not just into the ocean's embrace but into the depths of her own identity. Would she emerge reborn or shattered? The weight of her resolve pressed heavily on her heart, and the next morning felt foreboding, a harbinger of the journey yet to unfold. Just as she drifted to sleep, a fleeting thought snaked through her mind. What secrets did her father leave behind that she had yet to discover? The flicker of doubt ignited an insatiable curiosity, and as the wind howled outside, Amelia could feel the ocean answering her call. The sun was barely above the horizon when Amelia slipped from her restless sleep. The urgency and excitement from the previous day clung to her like a second skin as she prepared for the dive that would irrevocably alter her path. Today wasn't just about exploring submerged ruins. It was an odyssey into the hidden layers of her own identity and motivations. Diving gear sprawled across her living room, each piece a silent testament to her resolve. She carefully examined the oxygen tanks, regulators, and wetsuit, testing the weight of professional readiness against the gravity of her personal stakes. Every item represented a deliberate step towards her destiny. And yet, there was hesitation simmering beneath her focus as she suited up. Amelia caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Her reflection seemed foreign, cloaked in equipment that felt more like armor than attire. She breathed deeply, steadying her racing pulse. The image of an explorer, unencumbered by a legendary family name, flickered in her mind. But would shedding her father's legacy, however momentarily, free her or anchor her deeper into doubt? Arriving at the harbor, she felt the cool sea breeze kiss her flushed cheeks, replenishing the energy that the dawning sun brought. The boat awaited her, bobbing gently on the surface like a slumbering beast. Amelia greeted the crew, a mix of seasoned divers and some novices eager to earn their stripes under the waves. She recognized an unspoken camaraderie among them, a bond forged by the willingness to face the unknown. Once aboard, Amelia's demeanor shifted. As she shared her findings and the plan for the dive, she saw a flicker of respect in their eyes, a reflection of the ambition she desperately yearned for. They listened intently, offering insights and expressing concerns. Each question posed was another layer of exposure, testing her knowledge and resolve. It forced her to refine her approach and stand firm not just in her knowledge but in her right to seek her path. As the boat sailed away from the shore, doubt reared its head again. What if the divers gauged her abilities solely through her father's reputation? What if she failed to meet their expectations, not just as an explorer but as a descendant of a legacy that cast an enormous shadow? Would she merely be Will's daughter, or could she stand as Amelia, carving her own niche into the annals of exploration? The chatter of the crew faded as Amelia stood at the bow, the ocean sprawling in front of her, a canvas of mystery stretching beyond the horizon. She realized it wasn't just submerged city ruins waiting beneath the waves, but her potential waiting to be discovered as well. The ocean was a mirror, reflecting her deepest fears and greatest aspirations. The sun glistened on the water, beckoning her toward what lay beneath. With each passing wave, she fortified her commitment, fighting the tidal pull of self-doubt. Today was not the day to merely replicate her father's journey. It was a day to forge her own ahead. The moment the anchor was dropped, she knew it was time. Flipping the switch on her sense of adventure, she took a deep breath before stepping to the edge of the boat. The depths called, beckoning her forward. As she began her descent into the cerulean abyss, Amelia filled her lungs with air and plunged into the unknown. The world above faded, and she surrendered to the silence of the underwater realm. It was a tapestry woven with history, yet the call of the present was deafening. Surging excitement coursed through her veins as she ventured deeper. Each meter was not just a numerical drop, but a step closer to discovering the essence of who she could become. Suddenly, a shadow passed above, and Amelia's heart raced. Something moved in the murky depths, and she could feel it watching her. The moment of revelation had come. Was it merely a fish or something more intimate, a reflection of her deepest fears? As she focused, she steered her mind back to the mission, pushing aside the chilling thought of lurking shadows. But the ocean had secrets to unveil, and she was standing on the precipice. As the dive progressed, she couldn't shake the feeling that the most significant discoveries wouldn't be made of gold or artifacts. They would be the ones about herself. What awaited her in those depths would challenge everything she thought she knew. With each fin stroke, the vastness of the water enveloped her and the mysteries began to unfold. However, within her, a question lingered. What hidden truths would she uncover? And would she be ready for the answers that lay ahead? In this dance with the depths, time stood still, and as she approached the outline of ancient architecture silhouetted against the ocean floor, Amelia braced herself for the revelations that awaited. Amelia's descent deepened as she navigated towards the ruins that lay cradled in the arms of the ocean. The light filtering through the surface gradually faded, casting an ethereal glow on the ancient structures below, half concealed by waves of swaying seaweed. Her breath quickened, not just from the exertion but from an intoxicating mix of anticipation and trepidation. As she approached the remnants of a once thriving civilization, a newfound clarity emanated from within. The architecture, with its intricate carvings of unknown creatures and elaborate stonework, began to resonate with her own journey of self-discovery. Each stone, chiseled to precision, mirrored the craftsmanship she aspired to build in her own life, away from the shadows of her father's legacy. A sudden swoosh cut through the water, snapping her attention back to the present. A sleek creature darted past. At first, alarm ricocheted through her mind. Was it a threat? But as she studied the graceful movements of the fish, it felt less like a predator and more like a guide, encouraging her to dig deeper into her exploration. The ocean had always offered companionship in myriad forms, but now it was calling her to embrace the vital strength flowing through her veins as her fingers brushed against the age-worn stones. A sense of reverence enveloped her. This was not just an excavation of a bygone civilization. It was an excavation of her own narrative. With each detailed carving, She felt a kinship with those who had walked these pathways before her, facing their own fears and aspirations. The fear of being merely defined by another's greatness faded, replaced by the burgeoning belief that she could redefine what legacy meant. She paused, pushing an errant strand of hair back into her mask. How could she ever resolve the conflict between living in the large shadow of her father and finding the light of her own passion? The answer eluded her. But there, in the heart of this submerged realm, she could take solace in knowing that authenticity often arose from the shards of uncertainty. The weight of time felt tangible here, echoing off the ruins. Questions swirled in her mind like debris caught in a current. What if she found something monumental? Would that only confirm her father's legacy? Or could it assert that Amelia was paving a unique path in this world? This question pressed down on her as the shadows of the sunken city loomed large. Then, a glint caught her eye, growing brighter as she drew closer. Intrigued, she maneuvered around the debris and gasped as she reached an area untouched by the decay of time. A mosaic floor depicting an intricate scene of daily life. A fish, majestically colored and embellished with tiny gemstones, sparkled in the marine luminescence. With her fingers trembling, she traced the lines, absorbing the stories embedded within the art. This was more than a visual statement, it was a testament to the creativity and resilience of a people who had thrived here. Her heart surged with resolve. If those who came before had left behind their stories embedded in stone, then she had the power to etch her own narrative, shifting the focus from who she was expected to be to whom she chose to be. The mosaic inspired her, igniting the potential that lay dormant, waiting for her to recognize it. Emboldened by the discovery, Amelia initiated a careful sweep of the surroundings, contemplating how to catalog and preserve what she found. The ocean, in its vast wisdom, was not just a repository of lost artifacts. It had become an incubator for her true self. But as she prepared to secure the area for further exploration, the weight of another looming uncertainty pressed on her. What if the crew did not see her findings as significant, labeling them mere remnants of the past? Would her beliefs hold water once back in the world above the surface? The inkling of discouragement swelled, plunging her into the depths of thought once more. As she ensured everything was in place, the realization hit her this mission was as much about validating her identity as it was about unearthing history. The ocean had gifted her wisdom wrapped in adversity, and now it lay in her hands, literally and metaphorically. But before she could anchor in this revelation, an unexpected tremor reverberated through the water, jolting her profoundly. What lay ahead? Was it merely a harmless shift, or did it signal deeper currents at play? With her heart racing, she steadied herself, preparing to confront whatever tide would churn next. It was not just the mysteries of the ocean awaiting her, but the complexity of her own journey that dared to unravel. What truths lay deeper still, and how would she face them when they emerged? The tremor grew stronger, sending ripples through the water that echoed in her chest. Instinctively, Amelia steadied herself against a nearby stone column, her heart thrumming in rhythm with the mysterious agitation surrounding her. This sudden shift hinted at an undercurrent of change, both within the ocean and within her. As she steadied her breath, a flicker of determination ignited. Opting to yield to the intelligence of the ocean rather than succumb to fear, she pressed further into the ruins. She felt the weight of the water around her, a buoyant reminder that she was not alone in her exploration. The ruins seemed to call to her in whispers, urging her forward. Amelia recalled the stories she had heard about explorers yielding to the shadows of their predecessors. But today, she would not follow blindly in the wake of her father's legacy. Today was about forging her own legacy, one that was alive with her own curiosity, her own discoveries. As she navigated through the crumbling archways, her eyes honed in on a series of carvings yet to be fully revealed. They were obscured by shifting sand, but the forms of mythical creatures peeked through, almost beckoning her to unearth their secrets. Each intricate detail told a story, the kind that drew her in deeper, urging her to remember her own narrative, the challenges she had faced, and the resilience that had led her here. With her gloved hands, she began to brush the sand away, envisioning how these symbols might connect to her own identity. Perhaps these ancient figures represented her fight against external expectations. Hers was the struggle to break free and build something meaningful, as these ruins once did. Suddenly, the tremor returned, a persistent thrum that surged through the water. The ground quaked beneath her, startling her into action. An urgent thought clawed at her mind. What if she were to unearth something monumental, a treasure that could add weight to her findings? Amelia halted, worked through her mounting anxiety. The ambition within her began to clash with self-doubt. If she discovered something of great historical value, would it place her in the spotlight, or would she remain eclipsed by her father's narrative? The breath of the ocean deepened as she deliberated. Through the murky waters, a shadow moved, something large and looming just beyond her range of visibility. Curiosity twisted into a knot of apprehension. She longed to explore further, but she also hesitated, torn between wanting to uncover the unknown and fearing the consequences that might follow. But hesitation had never been Amelia's forte, and she reminded herself that she had come too far to turn back now. With focused determination, she took a deep breath, steadied her pulse, and propelled herself into the water, searching for clarity amid the looming shadows as she glided forward. The silhouette transformed into a large architectural form, another section of the sunken city, possibly untouched by the passage of time. Her heart raced at the prospect of what lay within. This could be the moment she had been waiting for, the defining revelation that might reshape her identity from that of a daughter in someone else's shadow to an innovator of her own making. With an adrenaline-fueled resolve, she rushed toward the structure, ready to explore whatever secrets it concealed. But what awaited her inside could shift the dynamics of not just her expedition but potentially her entire life. Could this be the discovery that would finally affirm her worth beyond her father's influence? Or would it open a Pandora's box of new dilemmas? Navigating through the entrance, the darkness enveloped her, thickening with both uncertainty and anticipation. The echoes of her heart reverberated through the stillness as she braced for the revelations ahead. What would be unveiled in the shadows? And how would that alter the course of her journey? The answers lurked in the depths, just waiting to be unraveled. The darkness enveloped Amelia, pressing against her like a living entity. She felt the chill of the water against her skin, a stark contrast to the warmth of determination coursing through her veins. Each stroke deeper into the ruins ignited a latent courage. She was no longer just the daughter of a renowned explorer, but someone seeking her own truths. With hesitant fingers, she brushed away more sediment from the archway, illuminating the mythical carvings rising from the stone. They were more intricate than any she had previously observed, a vivid tapestry of ancient lore. As she deciphered their meanings, her mind raced with questions. Who were these beings that had once inhabited this city? What lessons did their lives hold for her? Amelia paused, captivated by a specific carving that depicted a figure rising triumphantly above tumultuous waves. What if, just like them, she could rise against the currents of her own past? In her heart, a realization settled. Her quest wasn't just about seeking external validation. It was about reclaiming her narrative, asserting her identity in a world that often overshadowed it. The faint vibrations returned, reminding her of the energy pulsing beneath the water's surface. They felt less threatening now, more like a heartbeat resonating with her own. But as she ventured further inside, breathing deeply to quell her rising excitement and trepidation, she sensed a shift. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, causing her mind to race. Was it her imagination? Or was someone else navigating these ruins? The thought sent panic spiraling through her. The competitive spirit ingrained in her since childhood urged her to push deeper, to uncover the secrets before anyone else. But what if the shadows were real? What if they belonged to someone who had already laid claim to these findings? Would she be forced to confront yet another piece of her father's legacy, the need to prove her worth in a space rife with rivalry? As she navigated through narrow corridors, her resolve began to waver. Each moment in the dark felt like a test of her instincts. The truth was, she had always struggled with balancing ambition and integrity. What would the ethical implications be if she were to uncover an artifact that wasn't meant to see the light of day? The walls enclosing her seemed to echo her unspoken doubts. Yet, as she reached a central chamber, the subtle glow of bioluminescent algae illuminated the room, revealing an altar adorned with relics. Each object had its own story etched into the fabric of her burgeoning awareness. They weren't mere artifacts. They represented choices made by a civilization that had thrived against the odds. In that moment, Amelia understood her hesitance was rooted not just in fear but in a longing for authenticity. She could carve her own path through the tumult, not just by achievement but by honoring the complexities of her lineage. The legacy she yearned to build could incorporate both her father's achievements and her emerging identity. As her fingers delicately grazed a beautifully embellished token, the ground trembled again. This time, it felt more urgent, a reminder that time was not on her side. She would have to make a choice: continue to dig deeper for her own sake or tread carefully, honoring the historical narrative she was poised to uncover. Just then, a figure slipped into the corner of her sight, framed in shadow, an intruder or a fellow explorer. The urgency of the situation intensified, confrontational thrill igniting within her. Would this encounter become a collaboration or a conflict? The moment of revelation hovered before her, and with it, the choice to redefine her journey lay at the forefront. Would she rise to face the emerging threat, or would she retreat into the familiarity of doubt? Amelia's heart pounded in her chest as she steadied her breath, weighing her options. The shadows became more pronounced, a clear indication that whoever was lurking there, they were no longer content with remaining concealed. Instinctively, she drew back, but the call of discovery intertwined with a newfound ambition held her in place. Before she could second-guess herself, Amelia called out, her voice echoing against the damp stone walls. "Who's there?" The words felt foreign yet fierce, a challenge directed as much at the unknown figure as at her own lingering insecurities. For a moment, silence engulfed her, thickening the air around her. Then, a soft chuckle echoed through the chamber. The figure stepped forward, and the bioluminescent light caught his features, revealing a face she never expected to encounter in such desolation. It was Michael, an old competitor of hers from the university, someone who had always thrived on outperforming others. The weight of their history immediately flooded back. "Amelia," he greeted, an air of smug confidence surrounding him. "I didn't think you'd venture into the depths on your own." "How brave." "That's not exactly the word I'd use," she replied coolly, weighing the situation. Michael's presence ignited a rush of old insecurities formed through years of rivalry, but this time, she felt something different. Beneath the surface, she grasped for her authority, an emerging sense of self that had developed throughout her journey. "Nice to see you, too," Michael continued, his tone deliberately light, as if to draw her into a familiar banter. "I suppose it was only a matter of time before you'd find your way here. After all, seeking validation in your father's footsteps enough." Amelia cut in, her voice more resolute than she anticipated. "I'm not here for validation. I'm here to understand." Michael's expression shifted, curiosity lining his features. "Understand what? A past that doesn't belong to you? Or is this more about proving you are worthy of being his daughter?" His words were sharp, managing to slice through her defenses momentarily. Doubt crept back, whispering seductive messages that echoed in her mind. What if he was right? She shifted uncomfortably, but quickly steeled her resolve. This was her moment, her journey, and she would not revert back to a place of inferiority. "Unlike you, I want to honor history, not just seize it for my own glory," she shot back, surprising both him and herself. Michael flinched, but he masked it well. "Interesting perspective," he replied, tilting his head slightly. "We could work together. Think of what we could uncover as a team." The notion sent a jolt through her. Trusting Michael went against her instincts, clashing with years of rivalry and distrust. Yet, there was a strange thrill in the proposition. Collaboration could amplify their findings, but it could also compromise her integrity. Would he respect her values, or would their past rivalry overshadow any possibility of partnership? Suddenly, the walls trembled again, interrupting her thoughts. Dust cascaded from overhead, falling like confetti around them. The ruin was alive with unrest. Time was quickly running out, and a decision needed to be made: fight against a familiar adversary for her rightful place or join forces, risking deeper entanglement. "Are you ready to make a decision, Amelia?" Michael prodded, amusement sparkling in his eyes, but there was an undeniable seriousness behind his words. Caught between fear of his influence and her growing ambition, she hesitated, the future stretching before her like the uncharted depths around them. Would she allow doubt to hold her back, or could she rise again, fortified and fearless, weaving her own legacy among these ancient relics? With the ground rumbling beneath them, Amelia felt the weight of her choice bearing down. "Fine. Let us uncover what secrets lie ahead, but just know, I won't sacrifice my values for glory." As they stepped farther into the ruins, the darkness beckoned, shrouding both treachery and discovery. Amelia steeled herself against the uncertainty. Together they might unveil profound truths, but would she be able to maintain her integrity in the face of opportunistic motives? The tension hung palpably in the air, and the next turn in their journey loomed like a spectral promise. What would lie ahead in the deep? And was their partnership destined to illuminate new paths, or would it fracture under the weight of ambition? Amelia's resolve hardened as she and Michael delved deeper into the ruins, a tenuous partnership born of necessity and mutual ambition. Each step echoed along the stone floor, the sound mingling with the creeping dread of the unknown. The oppressive darkness loomed around them, yet Amelia felt a flicker of purpose. This was her chance not only to unveil historical secrets but also to redefine herself amid entangling shadows. With every twist of the narrow passage, the artifacts surrounding them grew more intricate and imposing. Ancient carvings adorned the walls, whispering tales from a time long forgotten. As Amelia traced her fingers over the cool stone, memories of her father's lectures surged through her mind. But this was her exploration now. The path unraveled before her with notes of resentment and nostalgia fused together. "Do you see what I see?" Michael broke the silence, his voice laden with curiosity as he pointed toward a faded mural. "This depicts the exact legends we studied in class. Amazing, right? Legends that could tell us much about their society, their struggles," Amelia replied, her focus sharpening. Each pulsing beat of anticipation ignited a spark within her. Here lay revelations more compelling than any feud. A crease appeared on Michael's brow, his usual self-assuredness disrupted. "But it would take time to decode all this," he mused, a hint of frustration creeping into his tone. "And I don't do slow progress. We need a plan, something concrete to drive us forward." Plans. The call of strategy resonated with Amelia. She had spent years planning and recalibrating her goals, fueling the fire that had simmered within her since childhood. But this venture demanded more than mere outlines. It required a vision rooted in authenticity and a respect for the past that she had previously overlooked. "What we do here must reflect genuine pursuit, not just a means to an end," she responded, her voice steady. "Rushing into interpretation risks losing the essence of what these artists intended to convey. We can't allow ambition to cloud our judgment." Michael's features softened momentarily, a flicker of respect alighting in his eyes. "You really believe this matters?" he questioned, genuinely surprised. Everyone else would be clamoring for recognition, fame. Amelia paused, processing the unexpected shift in his demeanor. "I intend to honor this discovery," she asserted, "not exploit it for accolades. This is about understanding a culture, not just showcasing findings to climb the academic ladder." Michael leaned back against the wall, contemplative. Perhaps there was something more than rivalry brewing between them. But the memory of past encounters echoed vehemently in Amelia's mind. Trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered. What if he began? But the tremors surged through the corridors again, shifting the ground beneath them, clouding the atmosphere with uncertainty. "Let us focus," Amelia interrupted, her heart racing. "We need to unearth what's valuable here, quickly." They resumed their exploration, combing through artifacts and running their fingers along jagged edges of history. Everyone always assumed surprising joy accompanied a moment of discovery, yet the odd, sick sensation thrummed beneath the surface. Could their efforts together manifest into something transformative, or were they merely two competing ideals colliding amid ruins? As they rounded the corner of the passage, a cavernous chamber opened up before them, glistening with long-forgotten treasures. Amelia's breath hitched. Gold-plated pottery, intricate textiles, and fantastical murals adorned the walls. Yet the beauty of it all sent adrenaline coursing through her veins, mingled with a thicket of unease. This bounty could signal endless discovery, but also tainted intentions to appropriate and capitalize on it. Michael's eyes gleamed, already plotting his next move, the familiar spark of opportunism igniting within him once more. Amelia needed to remain vigilant, to understand where ambition turned into greed. Her values could easily dissolve into shadows. If she allowed someone else's desire for recognition to overshadow her intentions that in that moment, with the cave surrounding her pulse like a heartbeat and the allure of historical treasures looming, another possibility unfolded. A loud crash reverberated through the space. With scant seconds to react, Amelia felt the thrill of nerves mingle with instinct. Why was she here, really? Was it for the truth? Or had she simply sought to outperform Michael once again? As the dust settled, a glimmer of hope sparked within her, a realization of potential that transcended distinctions of rivalry. This journey was hers, and she would not let ambiguity dictate her path. "Amelia, look!" Michael shouted, pointing toward a glowing artifact nestled deep within the shadows of the chamber. Tension flooded the air, anticipation lingering on the cusp of revelation. What truth would they unlock together? And could she bridge their motivations and values to forge something unprecedented? Or would the weight of ambition eclipse all they had sought to accomplish? As Michael's voice rang out, Amelia felt her attention sharpen, her mind racing past the weight of uncertainty pressing down upon her. A glowing artifact exuded an ethereal light, casting shadows that skittered across the chamber's walls. It felt entrancing, yet disarming at the same time. The treasure, pulsing with a sleepy power, seemed to hold answers they desperately sought, but it threatened to awaken unhealthy ambitions. "Stay alert," she said, cutting through the tension filling the space. She stepped cautiously toward the artifact, each careful footfall a reminder of the responsibility weighing on her. In Michael, she saw eagerness morphing into greed, and she needed to act decisively before their aspirations led them astray. "What if it's a hoax?" Michael asked, narrowing his gaze as he matched her pace. His eyes flickered with doubt, but also curiosity, an enticing mixture that both thrilled and frightened Amelia. She wondered if he would go too far in pursuit of glory. Sensing his anticipation, Amelia took a measured pause, redirecting her focus to deeper understandings rather than the sparkle of discovery. "What matters is how we approach this," she responded, voice firm yet thoughtful. The artifact was within grasp, but it was the choices surrounding it that would define them both. "If we rush, we risk missing what this really means." "I get it, but we're talking about a significant find here," he countered, the urgency in his tone peaking. "We can't just sit and wonder." "I won't let our pursuit of knowledge devolve into mere spectacle," Amelia asserted, her conviction reshaping the current dynamics. She felt a tension rising between them, a push and pull fueled by unexpected revelations of their motivations. "If we rush through this, we might overlook history's voice. We owe it to these people and to ourselves to understand before we proclaim." For a moment, Michael hesitated, his expression shifting as he processed her words. The concept of a deeper purpose resonated with him, and Amelia sensed a vulnerability surfacing, however fleeting. But then, the glint of ambition flickered back in his expression. As he shook his head, contradictions battling within him. She recognized that complexity, the fierce desire to achieve battling against the conscience of ethical exploration. As he turned his gaze back to the artifact, Amelia approached it slowly. The artifact was not merely a golden surface. It bore inscriptions, age-worn characters telling stories that deserved reverence. Her fingers hovered inches above it, the promise of discovery tingling at her fingertips. "Just think about what we're really uncovering," she urged. "This isn't just a trophy." Despite the weight of her words, she felt excitement beginning to tug at her. It wasn't that the historical significance did not compel her. It did. But she questioned her own motivations. Was she truly committed to exploration? Or had her journey become intricately linked to one-upping Michael? Driven by competent scrutiny, She shifted from fear to curiosity as understanding blossomed. As the carvings told tales of a lost civilization, an empathy curated within Amelia provided clarity, a newfound vision obscured by her ambition in previous projects. She began to sift through the meanings her father had instilled in her. If she wasn't careful, navigating through layers of history would prove harder than any rivalry. "See those markings?" she said suddenly, her appreciation for the drawings amplifying. "We can decode them. They might lead us to understand why this culture thrived or how they fell." Michael paused, a conflation of surprise and intrigue flickering against the backdrop of impatience. "You think it could explain how their society collapsed?" "Yes." The fierce desire to share knowledge ignited inside her. Understanding their disintegration might offer lessons for our time, or illuminate their culture's values. We must ensure that our discoveries serve a higher purpose. And in that instant, as they both stood in awe before the artifact, Amelia embraced the profound understanding that exploration was not merely a quest for fame or distinction. It was a chance to connect with those who came before, to honor their legacy, and to navigate the complexities of history and human nature. A shiver ran through her as she felt the weight of responsibility align itself steadily against her chest. It was a transition she had long desired, yet it came with barriers she would have to confront. "Okay, then," Michael said, his tone stabilizing, a hint of newfound admiration lacing his words. "Let us uncover what we can. But we need a plan together." As Amelia nodded, she felt a surge of something akin to gratitude wash over her, realizing they must harness what they brought to this collaboration. She no longer saw Michael merely as a rival, but rather as a partner, someone whose perspective could enrich their mutual pursuit. But just as resolve fortified Amelia's intentions, an unsettling echo resonated within the chamber, causing the walls to tremble once more. A shroud of foreboding cloaked her mind. It wasn't just ambition they had to contend with, but the external forces closing in on them as they sought the truth. "What is that?" Michael's voice faltered, panic visible in his eyes. Instinctively, Amelia turned, the double-edged nature of consequence and ambition colliding within her. As the tremors rattled through the stones, an untold danger loomed ahead. Could they balance their own ambitions without losing themselves? The path to discovery now hung precariously in the balance, and she knew they were on the precipice of something much greater than either had anticipated. As the echoes of tremors reverberated around them, Amelia felt a rush of instinct. This was the moment that would define everything she had been striving for. The weight of history loomed large, pressing upon her as she turned to Michael, grounded in the realization that their partnership could hold the key to something extraordinary. Navigating through the uneven terrain of the chamber, Amelia's heart thrummed with adrenaline and purpose. They had the opportunity to reshape their narrative, to pivot from rivalry into collaboration, transcending the shadows of the past that had weighed heavily upon her. "We've come too far to back down now," she urged, her voice cutting through the tension of the moment. With a newfound clarity, she surveyed the intricately carved artifacts surrounding them. Each relic was a testament not only to the civilization they had come to understand, but also to the burgeoning spirit of their own journey, a journey that mirrored the resilience and discovery embodied within those ancient walls. "Let us document what we can before this place succumbs to the forces above," she suggested, her resolve shining through her words. They began to systematically record their observations, weaving together the story of a civilization that had sculpted beauty from their struggles, much like Amelia was learning to do. Her hand brushed against a mosaic, its intricate details revealing the vibrant life of a culture long past. This was no longer about outshining her father's legacy. It was about becoming her own beacon, illuminating the path she wished to forge. In that moment, clarity surged. Her journey was built upon the lessons of those who had come before her, but defined by her own values and integrity. As they collaboratively worked, a sense of trust began to blossom between Amelia and Michael. They exchanged ideas, each fresh perspective enriching the investigation they were undertaking. The historical significance of their discoveries shifted the conversation, steering it away from personal accolades towards a mutual desire to honor the history they had unearthed. With every artifact cataloged and every carving decoded, Amelia felt a weight lift. She was no longer Will's daughter, confined to an inherited narrative. She was Amelia, an explorer in her own right, capable of crafting an identity that was distinctly her own. Then, without warning, the tremors intensified again, shaking the chamber violently. As dust rained down like confetti, Amelia and Michael exchanged panicked glances. The urgency of their situation jolted them both. It was clear that they had limited time to preserve their findings before the unrelenting forces of nature reclaimed what had been unearthed. "We need to get this information out before it's too late," Michael shouted, urgency breeding clarity in his tone. The threat echoed loudly, resonating with Amelia's internal conflict. Her struggle was not merely against the physical peril of their environment, but against the waves of doubt that sought to undermine her resolve. Together, she affirmed, and each word became a brick in the foundation of her newfound confidence. As they finalized their documentation, an unexpected calm washed over Amelia. The fear that had previously consumed her transformed into a determination that thrived within uncertainty. While the chaos unfolded around them, she embraced the essence of exploration, not the promises of fame, but the commitment to unveil truth, understanding, and respect for history. When they finally emerged from the ruins, gasping for fresh air, a sense of fervid clarity overwhelmed Amelia. They had endured the depths of turmoil, both within the ocean and within themselves, and in doing so, they forged something remarkable. Recognition from their respective academic communities soon followed. Amelia's name appeared alongside groundbreaking discoveries, yet what brought her profound pride was not the accolades but the acknowledgement that shaped her identity from that of a shadow into a luminary figure of her own making. The once dominant whispers of doubt faded, replaced by the powerful echoes of shared revelations. As she stood before her colleagues at the presentation, their respect palpable in the air, Amelia felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had conquered not just the abyss of the ocean but also the internal battles that had anchored her to uncertainty. The artifact that now rested in the university's exhibit was more than a mere piece of history. It symbolized Amelia's journey, her evolution, and her intrepid spirit in reclaiming her narrative. Amelia had not only embraced her unique identity but had proven to herself that true legacy lies not in the shadows of ancestry, but in the light of one's own convictions, actions, and discoveries. No longer merely defined by family ties, but recognized for her unwavering resolve, Amelia stepped forward with solid confidence, her competence echoing in her community. The accomplishment was tangible, a vivid testament that her dreams had finally taken root, grounded in both history and her fervent aspirations. In that moment of closure, not just to the dive or her exploration but to the internal journey she had undertaken, Amelia realized that the only limits were the ones she had set for herself. She emerged, not just as an echo of the past, but as a pioneer forging new paths into the depths of tomorrow. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter greatly. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because you never know who might be inspired by Amelia's journey. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.